Hey, how's it going, everyone? Just want to do another flat Earth video. Um, I would just was just on Sean G's Hangout, and had a couple people on there, had a good dialogue, and just further pushing this idea of lasers, shooting lasers upwards, and then if they're parallel everywhere that they're shot, and they're calibrated properly and set perpendicular to the ground, that would imply a flat Earth. If the sampling distribution is wide enough, to ensure that curvature would be noticeable. But so fundamentally shooting lasers up. And I just thought right now, because I was on YouTube and just looking at my subscriptions, and I saw something from Fox News about, let me get the exact title just so people can get a sense of what I was watching. It was like some astronaut answering questions from space. Let's see what the title was. I just started watching a bit of it, and then I just find it funny because like I find like just in general with YouTube, the whole concept of it is great, but I find like the comments funnier than the actual video. But Fox, which in numerology 666 News, it's kind of strange that Fox Business posted this, but they're reporting on stuff. It's astronaut answers questions from the International Space Station. 22-minute long video actually, and so just check it out. The comments are hilarious. The thumbnail is obviously a section on Ball Earth, but this is my point. This is what I wanted. This is another rigorous thing. In some ways, this is a fairly direct proof because if we can sort of hold these images accountable, that these Himawari and all that, if again a group of people at the same time simultaneously around Earth shot lasers up from their high rise, or I don't even think you need to be on a high rise. At that point, it doesn't matter where you're shooting it from. The nice thing about a high rise is just that you won't you'll just limit the amount of interference that is possible when you're shooting it. Especially the building that I live in is high. It's like unobstructed. There's no issues about making sure that the beam is going to be unobstructed from any other buildings and stuff around. And so I was just thinking of like thousands of flat earthers shot a laser beam upwards, and it was not registered on any of these satellite images, then we would know that they're all CGI and they're fake. And so that alone would be, to me personally, that would be rigorous. Like, and again, we as people dictate, the way that it is, and we do it in a random pattern where we basically don't tell, we don't dictate when it's happening, or just people just do it randomly at different times. Like, let's just say, I have a laser that's strong, and I just decide every few minutes I'm going to go upstairs on a certain day and shoot it at random times. And everybody does that in the world, who are flat earthers or ball earthers. And then, they just shoot it up, and then we've sort of put that data point out there. And then these things that claim to be imaging the Earth would have to see that, and show some, phenomena of just people randomly shooting lasers up in space. And then, if we looked at the capture when these satellites are supposed to be hovering over our city, or have our city in view, we should be able to see just clusters of lasers, just being shot in space, because apparently lasers can be shot to the moon. And so, if these images are able to, if there, whatever is going on out there and the imagery is able to, capture the Earth and all that, and, the atmosphere around it, and a laser is apparently able to leave Earth and then, travel great distances, which I believe just by the physics of it, they're able to travel far. And so, this would be interesting. You don't have to really calibrate anything. It's almost like the more random people do it, just for a while, like a month or two, and then just there should be like literally we should just see random laser poppings up, and again, if you did it at random times, and then we could figure out where they were actually shot, and held NASA accountable for these images, like either NASA would then have to like bake those things into their images, or they would never register. You would never see these lasers being shot up, and people would ask like, hey, like we had like thousands of people shooting lasers regularly for these range of days. We don't see a single one being seen. What's going on? And then the flip side is like, let's just say it were actually being registered, and like people could actually see, their laser, their particular laser being, visible on NASA's imagery. That feather in the cap to NASA, and maybe they're not deceiving us. Again, obviously, just by looking at the thumbnail on this Fox Business thing, I mean, the curve looks huge. So I don't know if they're actually saying that that's ball Earth, or if they're just using a known CGI image. But again, if you're a flat earther, all these things kind of are ridiculous. But again, I just think lasers being shot in the air, I think is great. It's again, there's obviously issues with being able to capture two different laser shots going vertical. In the prior video that I mentioned, you have to be able to capture two of them, and they have to be appreciably far apart to give Ball Earth sort of a chance to be able to show the divergence of the beams. But this again, I still don't understand why, if the Earth is a ball and there is sophisticated technology that's out of our hands but is available, that would be a nice way to verify the dimensions of the Earth. Again, if satellites are real, that would be, like, to me, fairly easy problem to solve. Again, if we have things in space able to view the goings on Earth, and then being able to shine lights vertically, and have different points on Earth, you could calibrate it. You can verify it with many different calculations, and then you can get a very, very precise reading of the circumference and radius of the Earth. So that, I just thought it was kind of funny. It was a bit tongue in cheek, but I'm like, that's another way that we now can hold NASA accountable, that there's more and more coordination in the flat Earth community. And I think, again, the nice thing about this is, like, for me to buy a laser, I don't know actually how much they are, like a good one, but again, if there was coordination amongst the flat Earth people, this is, again, part of the reason why I think that a lot of the stuff that's happening at the, quote, high up in flat Earth is, I'm not saying they're evil or ill-willed or anything, but it's sort of controlled. Like, the pace of truth coming out, not just flat Earth, but other things, is controlled by God if you're spiritually inclined. And so these kind of things, to me, would have been thought of a while ago if there was large groups of people getting together at conferences and stuff. These are the kind of things that one would think, if you're going to have a conference, this is common sense to discuss stuff like this. And there are lots and lots of things like this that people could do worldwide to come up with a very, very rigorous, reproducible test observation to verify the shape of the Earth. But yeah, so, like, lasers I don't think are insanely expensive, and, like, the cool thing is, like, if I buy one, it's my contribution, we all sort of are in it together. And then, like, let's say they're not crazy expensive. I mean, I can look up right now. So just from Google, you can see that they can range from anywhere from $40 to $500 to $4,000. And so, again, I'm not sure what I'm looking at exactly, but this is a laser for, like, engraving. So that's just using the technology. But let's just say it's on the order of, like, hundreds of dollars and stuff. Like, again, I'm not saying $100 is not a lot. Nowadays, it's a lot for a lot of people, unfortunately. But let's say that there are people who are financially able to put forward $300 or $400 and own a laser, and have one, and live in, or have access to places where they could shoot this laser up, like have a flat surface that we can calibrate and then shoot it as best as we can perpendicular to the surface, and just leave it there for a little while and then turn it off and then come back and do it again, and just do it at random times. And then if we see satellite imagery that's telling us, and it's for me in Houston, like if I look at Himawari or something and then at a particular time, we don't see like hundreds of laser beams shooting up near where, in and around the Houston area, that's where we all agreed we're going to do it. I mean, that's a problem, unless, these laser beams are not strong enough to get out in the atmosphere that far. But I don't think that that's the case, and that's another thing too. It's like, if we can see on NASA's imagery lights, like individual lights, why would a laser be exempt from that, especially if it's stronger, focused, and there's large groups of them. And so just an idea, I throw that out there. Again, I'm just trying to brainstorm sort of off the shelf ways, and then now that there's more and more coordination, hopefully YouTube doesn't censor it completely, but these are things that we can do to verify the shape of the earth we're living on. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye.